Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? What is good? Oh yeah, the king of the lightning here today, bringing you guys and gals Hunter x Hunter, the glory that is Togashi Yoshihiro's Hunter x Hunter, chapter 368 and 369 review slash discussion. Now, first and foremost, I gotta say this: I am like a little bit, just a sprinkle bit sorry that the video did not come out earlier. Hashtag life, hashtag starting up a graduate program for electrical engineering, hashtag need to go and find an apartment in the area near campus. And so I've been fairly busy, driving a lot, couldn't really settle down and get to videos, but here we are getting to some videos. That's number one. Number two is that when it comes to this arc right now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that it's bad, but as this arc continues to progress further and further along the line, I seem to lose interest for what's going on when it comes to the princes and Kurapika's whole situation. Honestly, I care more about the Beyond the Tarot, I will take you there, and Jin and Pariston and the Phantom Trip and Hisoka, he's on the hunt, and then you have, of course, the Dark Continent, this amazing destination, and it looks like, in all honesty, we're gonna spend a lot of time. We're gonna spend a lot of time in this arc, which to me was unexpected because I figured, like, let's say, give or take, I don't know, like 30 some odd chapters that were done. But at this rate, honestly, like 70 chapters, double that, easy, man. So I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. But at this point in time, when it comes to the princes and what's going on with the whole situation, it's intriguing, but for the greater overall story, the focus of what is the Dark Continent destination. I mean, honestly, I'd rather see what's going on with Killua and Aluka as opposed to what's going on right now with the princes. I'd rather be with Gon and him and Aunt Mito just chilling. What's going on now, again, it's fine, but it's so minuscule compared to the Dark Continent, to Hellbell, to like plant light form sphere crazy thing Byron. Like, damn it, man. I'm reading these chapters and I'm like, okay, like this is interesting. Like the whole Oito thing, and then how Kurapika has to have this massive regulation on his Emperor time. That's a new thing, which is good for the overall story for his character in particular. Then you have things like, let's train all the bodyguards to learn Nen, and it's like, okay, and like let's have some mage too. And then, oh, well, the 12th prince, she got taken out. She was choked. Then Hanzo's pissed. And I'm like, it's all well and good, but I don't really care that much. Aside from the Kurapika stuff. Kurapika stuff is important, absolutely. When it comes to the princes, when it comes to the bodyguards and Bavi and Balsamico and like the one new guy, when it comes to the Nen Beast, like the only prince I want to focus on the most right now is the 4th prince. Like he's the only prince I actually care about because he has the eyes of the Kurta clan. So of course that's key. This guy is key. But we're just spending so much time with other stuff. It's like, dude, but like, who cares? Like, who really cares about Kurapika training these bodyguards? Is it important to this arc? Yes, it's crucially important. But it's like, how many of us actually care? I'm gonna put a comment in the comment section of the video, and I want to say how many people actually care about this current arc. Type of 1 if yes, type of 2 if no. I'm expecting to see a lot of 2s because honestly, I don't think that many people care about this arc, and you can throw me in that camp, but it is what is there. So let's talk about, now that I'm done like pseudo ranting, let's talk about what occurred in these 2 chapters. But first and foremost, before we get to the 2 chapters, let me say this. I was kind of surprised, very surprised, that the ability of the Stealth Dolphin, therefore the Emperor Time, didn't deactivate once the ability was initiated. Meaning that once the, I forgot what it's called, the ability to take control of small creatures and then see what they see. Once that ability went to Queen Obito, I thought that Stealth Dolphin would deactivate, but apparently I was wrong. I was big time wrong. And as a result of the ability staying active, the Stealth Dolphin needed to stay active, therefore Emperor Time needed to stay active. So now that I see it play out, it makes sense. But I initially thought that Kurapika was in the clear because the ability of whatever it was called went to Obito. But I was wrong about that. So 3 hours pass in this chapter at the beginning where she draws the layout of the 13th Prince's Mayan room and like where the bodyguards are and that kind of stuff. And then they shift over to the 12th Prince, Momose, where things get pretty hectic from there. But I was, again, shocked that the ability didn't deactivate. It makes sense now that I see it. But I assumed one thing in the previous video I did on Hunter x Hunter, and I was clearly wrong about that. So I do apologize, but that's the way it is now. So in this chapter, it's still active. And in the next chapter, chapter 369, the Emperor Time is also still active in that chapter. However, it winds up cutting off at the end of the chapter because of the Nen Beast of the 4th Prince, which came out like it was just in the ducks. It was like, it was there, the face and everything, and it devoured the bug or something. Very effective Nen Beast. Like clearly, I would say the most effective Nen Beast that we've seen thus far among all of the Nen Beasts. Because the 12th Prince's Nen Beast was effective in taking out some of the bodyguards of Camp Wobble. But afterwards, it lost energy because Momose herself was asleep, and as a result of that, it couldn't protect Momose, and then Momose got choked out by some dude, who, according to Hanzo, may be a Nen clone of some kind, which is interesting. But that being said, it was effective, but ultimately failed miserably. And then when it comes to Hulkenberg and his boys, in chapter 369, they believe that the mark, like the feather glowing mark thing on this side of their hand, is the mark of the Nen Beast that Hulkenberg has, which I don't think is the case. I really don't believe that. I could be very wrong. I think that it's an adversary of some kind. Who exactly, I'm not too sure. My best guess would be someone that is a member of Benjamin's boys, or it could be the Nen Master that is a part of Camilla's squad, because Kurapika did mention before that Camilla didn't send over a bodyguard because she probably has a Nen Master of her own in her camp. Again, I don't know. But I doubt that's the case. Either way, when you look at the Nen Beast of all the princes thus far, the most effective one has been the 4th Princes, because Obito was going to spy on them, and this thing cut them off before they could even get into the room. Very effective. And on top of that, scoping out Theta, because it can kind of sense that Theta lying. Why you always lying? Like, why, Theta? Why are you lying right now? But Theta's not really lying. But we'll get to that soon. So, first and foremost, chapter 368. I have a few notes here, so we'll go step by step for the review / discussion. So number 1 is Kurapika and Emperor Time. At the beginning of the chapter, Kurapika states that 3 hours have passed ever since she took control of the bug and she was surveilling the 13th Prince's room. And Kurapika is, of course, worried about the major side effect of the Emperor Time, which is 1 second equals 1 hour of his lifespan. That's number 1. But then number 2, which something he didn't realize until that chapter, is the physical strain of using Emperor Time for so long. And at the end of the chapter, we see the effects of that. And then the next chapter, we find out more about the physical strain and how it affects Kurapika and so on and so forth. Now, this makes sense because Emperor Time itself is not a passive ability, because he has to be in a certain state where his eyes have to change color, and then his Nen changes. The fact that he's able to utilize every category of Nen to the best of his capabilities, that in of itself is going to put a strain on his body, clearly, because that's not what his base body is. Because in a sense, you could say that because his Nen is transforming in the way it is when his eyes go scarlet, that requires energy and stamina to maintain. Number 2 for this chapter is going to be Queen Obito. And when it comes to character, we do get several things here when it comes to Kurapika, when it comes to Bobby, when it comes to Queen Obito, and various characters as well, like other bodyguards that come in into the story. When it comes to Obito, we get more of her character when she sees the death of Momose, the 12th Prince of Kaken. She sees it through the bug that she's controlling, the cockroach, and there is some guy just choking on Momose. We don't see Momose's face or anything in the store, and we don't see his face as well, the guy who's choking her out. But the guy is in a suit, clearly, so we'd assume one of the bodyguards, and Momose is killed. Now, when she does see that, she freaks out, of course, and in comes Bobby and company. Kurapika tries to tell, calm down, think of the greater situation. She does not care at all whatsoever. We have to go check on Momose and the 12th headquarters right now. That's exactly what they do. And then lo and behold, Momose was in fact dead. She was killed. And then all the 6 bodyguards have been detained. And the mother Momose, I forgot her name was, like the one that took all the bodyguards from Momose and let them guard Mariam, the 13th prince. Well, she starts freaking out and is like, hang them all. But it's kind of like, it's your fault. Like, it's your fault. So why you, like, I can understand why she's freaking out because that's her daughter. But still, it was your fault. So if anybody needs to hang, if anybody's has to go on the chopping block and put on a spike, it's her. Definitely her. If there were more bodyguards there, especially Hanzo, because Hanzo, he was like ready and willing. No. If there were more bodyguards there, especially Hunter bodyguards, odds are Momose would have survived that attack. Now, the next thing here is, I think, going to play a key role later on in the arc, because here you have Queen Oito. She clearly freaked out. She revealed that she was able to see what was going on in Momose's room. As a result, it's easy to deduce that she was using a Nen ability. However, even though it is fairly easy to come to that conclusion, Bavi decides to talk to Queen Oito for a few seconds. And he's like, why did you say what you say and do what you do? Why did you shout back then? Knowing full well that that's going to cost you later on in the long run of this whole situation. And then Queen Oito responds to Bavi, and I quote, all of you completely wrapped in this survival game. I must seem ridiculous for not standing by idly while someone else's daughter gets killed. I understand it all too well. I have nothing to say to you. After hearing this, Bavi, he lets go of his end. The radius that he had, he dissipates the entire thing. And then he leaves Kurapika and Queen Oito and Bill accompanying the room. So the fact that, it's not just the fact that he left. It's the fact that he released the N and then left. I think that Bavi now has attained a high level of respect for Queen Oito, where Oito will disregard her own safety, her own condition, because she was witnessing the murder of one of the princes. So there clearly is that instinctive, motherly, parental aspect to it, obviously. But also it looks like Oito does have a fairly strong sense of, maybe the word justice is too strong. Maybe it's more like, let's say, compassion, sympathy, empathy, along those lines. Maybe justice is too strong. But she does have some very strong foundations to where she doesn't give a damn about her current situation. Because we have to save this kid. This kid's being choked out. Currently, this is a survival game. It's life and death. And ultimately, the winner becomes king. By the end of the day, we have a kid, a child, being choked to death. So I can see where she's coming from. I can. Like, at first I thought that's absolutely stupid, all right? You done messed up. However, now after rereading it a few times, I'm like, okay, that's not entirely bad. For her character to showcase more of her character and how she has these strong foundations, I can say that's a fairly good plus. Now, what I don't want to happen is that in the future, let's say Bavi has a chance to kill Wobo or to kill Oito. I don't want him to not do so because of what she says in this chapter, 368. Which, in all honesty, may very well happen because of Bavi's reaction. Definitely. I don't want it to happen, but that could possibly happen. Bavi now, I don't think is that much of a strong player, a strong candidate when it comes to taking out Queen Oito and Wobo. He will probably still try, I don't doubt it, because again, he works for Benny Boy. However, when push comes to shove, he's going to recall what she says, and that may stop him from actually taking her out and taking out Wobo. So let's see how that pans out in the future chapters of Hunter x Hunter. Now, the next thing here, Kurapika, he made the deduction that the Nen Beast had no energy because that Nen Beast is probably the reason why the bodyguards of Camp Wobo were dying. One of the main reasons why. Now, Momose's Nen Beast, as a result of doing so many things, like taking all these bodyguards, Momose herself was getting tired because it requires Nen energy in order to do these things. It's like a battery. So the battery ran out, and Momose, the battery, went to go recharge via sleeping. And as a result, the Nen Beast couldn't act on helping Momose when she was being choked out. Now, I would have figured that the Nen Beast would have acted anyway and would have taken more Nen from Momose, because Momose is still emitting Nen. Like, she doesn't stop emitting Nen. It's the natural life force of someone. But the Nen Beast itself, I figured it would have taken some of Momose's Nen to the point where maybe it was taking some of Momose's lifespan just so it could protect her. So in the long run, she does lose lifespan, but in this immediate situation, Momose is still alive, but it did not. Could not. Which is very important to note when the Nen Beast of the host does something. The host is low on energy, and the host falls asleep or something of the sort. That is the window to strike. There are windows now that are open when it comes to taking out princes, and Momose was a clear example of that. And Kurapika states that the person that choked her out was probably fully aware of this and is probably someone well-versed in Nen. Now, the next thing, I'm not too sure if it's the case. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like Momose's death has caused some type of ripple effect when we look at the princes. And so I think Camila still ain't gonna send any bodyguards over, but the other princes that were kind of on the fence are now gonna send over the bodyguards. And we see in the next chapter, at the end of the next chapter, it's bodyguard after bodyguard, maids after maid. It's like, no. Like, way too many names to remember, with the exception of like one guy, who is the other bodyguard that Benny Boy is sending Camp Bobo's way. His name is Yuriko. So he's the only bodyguard slash maid that I remember among that group that we got at the end of the last chapter. At the end of the next chapter. It appears that because Momose died, more of the princes who were on the fence have now decided, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna send over a maid or two or a bodyguard or two, and it's only two. Kurapika won't allow more than 2 cats from each group to learn Nen. However, before he can get ready for the bodyguards and whatnot, and try and see what's going on with Oito and whatnot, he passes out. He's done. And then Bill starts to kind of freak out, obviously. And before he passes out, his head's like throbbing. He can't focus. He can't really hear Bill's words that well. And then boom, on the ground, night-night. So that was Kurapika's situation at the end of chapter 368. The last 2 things are, number 1, Hanzo talking to Biscuit about the person that killed Momose. And then Hanzo, he looks like he's ready. Like, this man is just like, he's ready. He can't wait to find the person and take him out. He concludes that the person who did this has a cloning ability, and as a ninja himself, Ninpo, Ichi ni, Tori Tun, blah, 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 as a ninja himself, he can do a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and he can kind of counter this clone Nen user. Basically, he's gonna hunt some dude down and chop his head off and feed it to the dogs, right? He's gonna give this guy the Ramsay Bowen treatment, and it's gonna be disgusting, like goddamn. So Hanzo, he ain't messing right now. Biscuit's trying to calm him down, but then she figures, you know, no. I might as well let him expel all this rage or whatnot so he can focus on later on the task of protecting 13 Prince Mariam. Because those two, Momose and Mariam, they shared bodyguards. Well, at least they did until she got taken out. So Hanzo, laser-like focus right now. He's ready. But I gotta say, kind of threw me off a little bit. Because unlike Basho and Lazarus, where you can see them actually growing a bond together, and mind you, it's only been like how many hours at this point in time in the story? Whatever. Momose and Hanzo, no. As far as I can remember, no. Like, there was nothing there. But again, she's a kid. So because she's a kid being choked out in her room like that while she's sleeping, I mean, from that standpoint alone, it's a horrible death. Don't get me wrong. And I can see why Hanzo wants to do what he wants to do. But what's throwing me off is that it looks like Hanzo got hit pretty hard by that. As if, like, Momose was something that he truly cared about. And the laser-like focus that he has now, I was like, what? I mean, like, again, I can understand it to a degree. Like, he shouldn't be that intense. But maybe it's Hanzo. Because, honestly, I'll be real with you. Like, the last time we saw Hanzo was what? I was gonna say the Hunter Games. I was gonna say the Hunter Games. Oh my god. What am I talking about, man? The Hunter exam. That was the first and last time we saw Hanzo in the story, I believe so. I don't think I saw him during Green Island. Yeah, I'm trying to recall where in the story you've seen Hanzo. But it's been a while. And I'm forgetting if Hanzo was like this intense in the past, even over things that really didn't involve him. Yeah, I'm not too sure, honestly, but let's continue here. And then finally, the last part of the chapter is Theta done. I mean, Like, Theta seems cool. She does seem like a really cool chick. But, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it comes to the fourth prince. When it comes to everybody else, like, even Benny Boy. Benny Boy, he's a scary dude. But they don't even compare to the fourth prince. And the main reason why, at this point in time, is that the fourth prince, his Nen Beast, man. Like, what is up with this thing? Damn, straight up, at the end of the chapter, it looks like his Nen Beast takes out Theta. How are you gonna end that chapter on a few little droplets in a small panel? Droplets of blood, mind you. Togashi, like... And we don't see any follow through in the next chapter, chapter 369. No follow through. We have no idea what the situation is. No idea. None. My God, the suspense, man. This thing is a freak. The fourth prince is learning Nen. And in half a day's time, he's already gained some level of mastery over Gyo. Like the thing where you can like focus your Nen on your eyes and also like other parts of your body. Yeah, he's already gained a certain degree of mastery over Gyo. However, he did find out from his bodyguards about the call that Kurapika made about learning Nen in 2 weeks' time. And this, of course, makes him very suspicious of Theta. Because Theta said, I think it was like, what, half a year to actually learn like the full foundation of Nen? But like I said before, what Theta is saying isn't necessarily wrong. You can learn Nen in a much faster way. Like, for example, with Gon and Killua. When Wing infused his Nen into their bodies, he opened the pores, I forgot what they're called, like the Nen pores, where Nen circulates through the body. Kind of like a chakra system, but in this case, it's Nen. And as a result, their Nen aura started to emerge, and they had to control it. Like, I forgot what it was, but like they had to control it right then and there, otherwise they would die. So it's a very risky thing, as far as I remember. It's a very risky thing to force one's Nen awakening. Normally, you learn Nen by going through certain types of training. I think there's meditation or like some type of like Buddhist, like whatever, man. You learn Nen normally, and it takes a much longer time. It takes, like, again, like half a year or a few months. Theta could do that to the fourth prince, but she would risk his life, clearly. So, not wrong, but Theta has to explain this to the fourth prince as he's Hawkeyeing her, because this guy is extra deadly. And then on top of that, the Nen Beast comes out of nowhere, just forms out of the ether, and then starts Hawkeyeing Theta. I'm like, yo, wait, stop. All right, it's time to stop. Just chill. Why is Hawkeyeing the hell out of Theta? I'm like, God damn, like it would suck to be bodyguard of the fourth prince. Because if he doubts you for a second, that's it. You're done. It's over. It's night-night. So Theta, at the end of the chapter, says, you can trust me. You can. And that's when you see those blood droplets. So Theta's situation, no idea. No clue. So that is the end of chapter 368. That chapter, I would say overall, from a rating standpoint, I thought it was a good plus chapter for the arc itself. Because in all honesty, again, I'm getting tired. I guarantee we have at least 20 chapters, at least 20 chapters of this arc. And so far, Togashi has been going strong. I want to get to the Jin, Ariston, the Beyond, Hellbell, Abus, Zombie, Byron. I want to get to the big stuff. Damn. We haven't even hit Dark Continent waters. We're a few hours in. I'm sorry, no, we're not a few hours in. Because the next chapter, I think it's like, yeah, Kurapika goes night-night for 9 hours. And then, so Emperor Time was active for a total of 12 hours. The sun is rising, so it's early morning time by the time the chapter is midway in the next chapter, chapter 369. And I think they said like 18 hours had passed since they had left dock or something. I forgot how many weeks or maybe months it was to get to the outskirts of the human world border waters, let alone to the false continent, the new continent. Then there's the gates to the human world itself. I believe it's by then. By then, this whole thing with the princess should be done. I believe so. So, but who knows when by then will be for us as Hunter x Hunter readers, right? Oh my god. I mean, Togashi. Please, like just muscle through, Togashi. Muscle through. Damn. All right. So, next chapter, chapter 369 of Hunter x Hunter. First thing here is, like I said before, it is nighttime, and then it becomes early morning hours when the sun rises. And again, how many hours have passed since they left dock? I'm not too sure. But we do know that Kurapika, so this is part 2 of this chapter, Kurapika was night-night for 9 hours. And there's a few things that come on top of that. So he has a 3-hour time limit in his mind when it comes to using Emperor time. Then after that 3-hour time limit, he blacks out. So the 9 hours of being blacked out, and I believe in the chapter he also states that it may have been intervals of him being constantly blacked out. So he blacked out for 3 hours, then he got up for like a split second, then blacked out again for another 3 hours. Like I think that's what he said in the chapter. I'm not too sure. Every 3 hours, he blacks out until he hits 9 hours. I could be wrong about that, and I probably am, honestly. So for every time he hits that 3-hour plus wall of Emperor time, he blacks out for specifically 9 hours. Then on top of that, if there is someone that is sharing an ability, like in this case, the Stealth Dolphin, then that person will also be knocked out for 9 hours. And Queen Oito was in fact knocked out for 9 hours. And she passed out about the same time Kurapika passed out. Then on top of that, this time limit of the Stealth Dolphin of Emperor Time may depend on the potency of the ability that was stolen. So if this is like a heavy duty ability, so let's say for example that Kurapika steals 2 Rolos and an ability, right? The time frame in which he can use the Stealth Dolphin and how long it can be active for, and therefore how long Emperor Time is active for, could be a much shorter window. So instead of 3 hours, let's say it's every 30 minutes. If Emperor Time is active for 30 minutes or more with this very potent ability, Kurapika blacks out for, I don't know, like he blacks out for like, let's say 3 hours or 4 hours. Then once he wakes, he has another 30 minutes until he blacks out again. So that could be the case. I'm not too sure, because he himself, Kurapika, is figuring out how, like, that's very fascinating. Kurapika himself is figuring out the intricacies of his own ability and how it works in certain situations. So he's gaining experience for the future, definitely. And that's going to be crucial, I don't doubt, later on in the story. But that's probably much later on to the story, and I have no idea if Togashi's going to get to that point. That is the whole thing involving Kurapika and his ability that he himself is still trying to sift through and trying to work out. Now, after all of that, Kurapika does convince Oito to use the ability, once again, survey the area, but this time they're beelining to the 4th prince, because Kurapika himself can't afford to spend another 3 hours going through the 12th prince's room or the 11th prince's room. He has to go straight for the 4th prince. Queen Oito herself is still in like a disheartened state because of what happened with the 12th prince, Momose. And on top of that, seeing that Kurapika wants to go back into it, it's very disheartening for her. However, Kurapika does make this promise, this pledge, that he has no intent of trying to harm them. Like, he's there to protect Oito and Bobo. And so we have to do what we have to do in order to make sure that you guys stay alive. Bobo sees Kurapika and calls him Dada. So Oito sees that, and that has given her a second win. But then, before she can utilize this second win appropriately, in comes the 4th Prince's Nen Beast. Done. Terminated. And then the Nen ability goes with it. It has returned to that one guy, probably. I forgot his name was. Unless it's some crazy thing where the 4th Prince's Nen Beast can, like, de facto steal abilities. But it should have returned to that one guy, that bodyguard that was with them. So then once that happens, the Stealth Dolphin deactivates. Finally, deactivates. Then Emperor Time finally can be deactivated, and then Kurapika then gets one final like rush of fatigue and burden, and then we see him buckle down. Like, goddamn, this ability is truly far more dangerous than I give it credit for. I don't see it happening with any other ability. Maybe the change if he has to hold the Phantom Member down for hours upon hours, which may happen in the future, who knows. But before we get any further, let's talk about time here, because Kurapika has spent 12 hours in Emperor Time. It's time to talk about how much time Kurapika has lost as a result of 12 hours. 12 hours. Did the math for you guys. Very simple. Kurapika had his ability active for 12 hours. So in 1 hour, you have 3,600 seconds. Times that by 12 for the total amount of hours he was active for, and that should bring you to 43,200 seconds. 43,200 seconds, my dude. That's crazy. So how many days is that? Well, for days, you have 24 hours in a day. So you take 43,200, you divide that by 24. That'll give you 1,800 days. 1,800 days. There's 365 days in a year. 1,800 days lost. Essentially, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is over 4.5 years. Kurapika, in the last 12 hours of Emperor Time activity, has lost over 4.5 years. Gone. Of his lifespan. I mean, that's madness. The fact that Emperor Time still remains active, even when he's asleep, is pretty insane. Blacks out, it's still, the clock is still ticking, and it was ticking for 9+ hours. So it's actually more than that, because there are the minutes that they don't mention, because it was 9+ hours, and it was 3+ hours on top of that beforehand. Granted, he does have prolonged lifespan because he's a Nen user, like Chairman Netero, but still, that is a long amount of time lost. So heavy, but now he knows. Now he fully knows the danger of his own ability. Now after that, we have the bodyguards. They come in, and actually, the bodyguards from the 4th Prince's area. The 4th Prince said, if you don't learn Nen in 2 weeks, just kill them. The 4th Prince is no slouch. And then among the bodyguards, we have the guy that Benjamin was gonna send over anyway when it comes to Camp Bobo. Yurikov, he has this fairly unique ability called the Silent Majority, I believe so. And apparently he has very good insight, like superb insight on Nen, and who has abilities, who does have abilities. Like, he said something where like you can tell that someone has an ability based on like the ripple on like the side of their eye or something. I'm like, what the hell? Like some crazy stuff like that. The man has insight on people, and he apparently knows that there are 4 cats, there are 4 people that are not hunters, that are in the room that know Nen, and they are hiding their Nen ability. But he can see that, because even if like you try and like, let's say, shrink the Nen changes its color or its tone, like he can see these things, and apparently it's from experience. So the guy has massive insight on Nen, and it looks like he's putting it to good use. And his Nen ability is ready to go. That being said, guys and gals, I am done. This chapter of Hunter x Hunter, I would say, is a much simpler chapter, and now truly Emperor Time has disengaged. So I'm gonna say that this chapter, not as good as the previous chapter, but still overall a good chapter of Hunter x Hunter. I'd say I'm done. Okay, Lightning, rate the video. It is not that hard to do, especially when you all have a device called ZMouse. You use ZMouse to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell to join the squad, and of course, comment in the comment section down below. Peace, and have a nice goddamn day.